Hello everyone, if you're tuning in, thank you so much, and please don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss any of our updates on what's really happening in Nigeria right now. Let's get straight into it. So there are three big threads in this story. The protest led by Sowore, the protest for Nnamdi Kanu, and Soludo's big statement, and all of them reflect bigger questions in our country. First, the protest and attack. What's going on? Omoyele Sowore says that peaceful protesters who gathered in Abuja in support of Nnamdi Kanu were met with live bullets, tear gas, and heavy security. He claims there was no provocation, that the demonstration was peaceful, yet security forces arrived in force, fired tear gas, and some live bullets were shot. He further alleges that Nnamdi Kanu's younger brother and his lawyer were arrested and beaten. Why this matters? A protest for a detained leader in the capital met with violence and arrests. This raises serious concerns about rights of assembly, freedom of expression, and how the state handles dissent. Let's unpack it. The protest in support of Kanu took place in the front of the Transcorp Hilton, Abuja. According to the report, the roads were barricaded, security forces were ready. Suddenly, what should have been a peaceful march turned tense. The protesters say they did nothing wrong. The security forces say there was injunction and warning. The protest was reportedly against the injunction. For viewers, this is personal. If you feel you have the right to gather, to speak out, to demand change, you must ask, when is that right respected? When is it suppressed? Who decides? If the state says, you cannot protest here, but citizens say we will, there is inevitable friction. That friction is playing out right now. Second, the figure at the center of the protest, Nnamdi Kanu. He is the leader of the banned group, Indigenous People of Biafra, IPOB, and is standing trial for terrorism-related charges. His supporters say his detention is politically motivated, and they demand his release. Security forces say he is charged, and the process is under the law. What does this mean in the bigger picture? The Southeast region sees this as part of a long pattern. Grievances of marginalization, lack of voice, heavy-handed state response. The protests around Kanu reflect those deeper tensions. People ask, are we treated as equal citizens? Are our voices heard? Or are we boxed out? For the public, think about this. The moment you speak up for something you believe in, the moment you feel you are being silenced or ignored, these are not distant issues for some other person. They are yours too. The question becomes, how much space do we have for dissent in Nigeria? Third, the bombshell from Charles Soludo, the governor of Anambra State. He has made a statement described as a bombshell. Apparently, he said that 99% of kidnappers terrorizing Southeast are Igbo, not Fulani. That kind of statement is explosive because it highlights fault lines. Ethnic identity, crime, blame, security issues. What he said raises questions. Is he speaking truth to power and exposing something ignored? Or is he fueling division? His statement will be used by many sides. Those who feel the Southeast is unfairly treated will say, see, we are being blamed. Others will point out criminals must be named regardless of tribe. But the timing is critical. Amid protests, detention, regional frustration, such statements can escalate emotions. Let's examine the context. In the Southeast, there's already a sense of being under pressure. Sit-at-home orders, security crackdowns, economic marginalization. When a governor from that region makes a sweeping claim that criminals are overwhelmingly from his own ethnic group, many will interpret it through the lens of internal critique, others through external blame. It will affect how people feel about legitimacy of governance and security policy. So, tying all three together, we have a protest for Kanu. We have peaceful protesters being attacked. We have a governor making a polarizing statement. What does this tell us about Nigeria right now? Tension between state power and citizens. The fact that protest is met with gunshots and tear gas shows that the space for dissent is contested. People don't feel safe to raise their voices. Regional and ethnic dynamics. The Southeast, Igbo identity, calls for fairness, these are active. Kanu's case is part of that. Soludo's statement hits that nerve. Security crisis plus governance challenge. With crime, kidnappings, protests, you see multiple overlapping crises. And the way leaders speak and act matters as much as what they do. Media and public perception. How this is reported from Reuters to local outlets shapes how you and I understand these events. What we hear influences what we feel. Now, to make this real for you as my viewer, if I were you, here's what to look out for in the coming days. And I'll keep giving updates. So, again, subscribe please. Will the government respond to Sowore's allegations? Will there be an independent investigation into the shooting of protesters or arrests? What will happen to Kanu's trial or detention? Will his supporters escalate protests? Will there be more crackdowns? What will be Governor Soludo's next move? Will he clarify, apologize, escalate? How will the Southeast community respond? Will these three threads, protest, rights, regional tension, security, governance, combine into a wider movement, or will things calm down? And importantly, how will this affect everyday Nigerians, your job, your cost of living, your sense of safety and fairness? I want you to think with me. Suppose you were a young person in Lagos, or a trader in Ibadan, or a student in Enugu. How would you feel if your right to protest was met with bullets? How would you feel if your ethnic group was publicly blamed for national crime problems? How would you feel if you believe your vote or voice doesn't count? These are not abstract. They affect trust in institutions. They affect hope for the future. Before I continue, please like this video. Subscribe if you haven't yet. Hit the bell so you get notified when we post more. Your support helps us keep bringing these updates to you. Okay, let's deepen the story a little bit. On the protest front, the fact that the injunction barring protests around key government areas was pointed out by Sowore as selective. He asked, why only protests in favor of Kanu are banned and not protests against him? Channels television. That raises issues. Fairness of the law, selective enforcement, maybe political bias. The presence of combined security agents, police, army, civil defense, by eyewitnesses, also shows how serious the state treated this. Channels television. On the Kanu case, he has been in detention since 2021, and the Southeast activists say his case is symbolic. The protest also marks echoes of the historical Biafra War and feelings of marginalization. Again, when history whispers in current affairs, tensions rise. On Soludo's statement, the bombshell phrase is used by media to show how unexpected and strong his words were. Claiming 99% of kidnappers are Igbo is inflammatory. It risks alienation within the region and will have ripple effects across Nigeria. Whether he meant to provoke reform or admit something, the impact is there. Let's talk about possible outcomes. If the state backs down, for example, retracts the use of live bullets, begins dialogue, this could become a moment of reform and improved civic space. If the state doubles down and uses more force, we could see escalation of protests, more arrests, possibly violence in places. If Soludo doubles down on his statement, or is challenged strongly by Igbo leaders, the Southeast might polarize further politically. For average Nigerians, if all this leads to more insecurity or economic cost, because protests, crackdowns disrupt business, then discontent will widen. My take: I believe what we're witnessing is a flashpoint. Not necessarily a full crisis yet, but a signal. Nigeria has long buried tensions about governance, identity, security, voice. These three threads bring them to the surface. The question is whether they fizz out or lead to something bigger. For you, stay informed, stay safe. If you ever decide to protest or engage socially, know your rights and responsibilities. Monitor how your leaders speak about you and your community. Demand accountability. First, Let's talk about the political angle. The protest in Abuja was not just about Nnamdi Kanu. It was about freedom. The freedom to speak, to gather, to demand fairness. When people see activists like Sowore, who has been outspoken for years, being attacked or tear-gassed again, it sends a message that dissent is still being treated as a threat, not a part of democracy. That's dangerous for any country that calls itself democratic. Now, remember that 2027 elections are not far away. Everything happening now, the public anger, the regional frustration, the insecurity, will influence how people vote and how they trust those in power. Many Nigerians are already asking, if this is how protesters are treated, what will happen during elections? Will the same pattern repeat itself? Also, opposition figures like Sowore often use these events to show that the government is intolerant of criticism. But beyond politics, there's a human side. People were out there, risking arrest, because they believe in something. Whether or not you agree with them, that's courage. Second, let's look at the Southeast situation. Governor Soludo's 99% kidnappers, our Igbo comment, has hit a raw nerve. It's not just about crime. It's about how a region perceives itself. People in the Southeast already feel isolated. Sit-at-home orders have crippled local businesses, and insecurity has driven away investors. Now, hearing a top Igbo leader say that almost all the criminals are from within feels like self-condemnation. Some say Soludo was trying to shock the system to tell his own people to stop protecting criminals and confront the truth. Others say he played into the hands of those who label the Southeast as violent. Both sides have points, but in politics, perception matters as much as intention. Words like that can fuel anger, especially when tension is already high. I also want to remind you that while he's governor, Soludo's words travel beyond Anambra. Federal authorities, northern leaders, and international observers watch those comments. It shapes how they see the region and can even influence policies on security deployment. So, we must ask, is this helping peace and unity, or is it deepening mistrust? Third, let's connect this to everyday Nigerians, you watching now. What does all this mean for you? Think about it. When protests are met with force, it affects everyone. People become afraid to speak out, even about issues that affect them directly. Electricity, cost of living, poor roads, insecurity. The fear of being arrested or attacked kills civic participation. Meanwhile, the economy continues to bite. Prices are rising daily. People are struggling to feed their families. Yet the national conversation is dominated by crisis after crisis, ethnic tension, protests, insecurity, instead of solutions. So even if you're not in the streets, you're still affected by the consequences. Now imagine this. If people could protest peacefully without fear, maybe government would be more accountable. Maybe leaders would act faster on issues. But when the only response is violence, it builds frustration, and frustrated citizens can become desperate. Let's talk a bit about Sowore's consistency. Love him or not, you can't deny that Omoyele Sowore has remained consistent in speaking against bad governance. From Revolution Now to End SARS, and now the Nnamdi Kanu protest, he keeps showing up. Many Nigerians see him as fearless. Others see him as too confrontational. But either way, his voice adds to the public pressure for reform. The incident in Abuja, where he alleged that police fired live bullets, will likely push him to demand even louder accountability. He might seek legal action, and he'll definitely use his platform, Sahara reporters, to push the story globally. That's how movements grow. One incident sparks another wave. Now, let's move to Nnamdi Kanu's side of the story. For those who may not follow closely, Kanu has been in detention since he was rearrested in 2021. The courts have granted and revoked bail multiple times, and the case has dragged on for years. His supporters believe his continuous detention is unjust. The government says he must face trial for terrorism-related charges. But at this point, many Nigerians, even outside the Southeast, are asking, how long will this case take? Justice delayed is justice denied, whether you agree with Kanu's views or not. The longer he stays in detention, the more sympathy he gains, and the more his supporters see him as a political prisoner. You see, that's the paradox sometimes. When governments try to silence a person, they end up making him louder, and in Kanu's case, his name still dominates conversations, even from detention. Let's bring it home to something deeper, the issue of trust. Nigeria's biggest problem right now is not just insecurity or economy, it's trust. Many citizens don't trust the police, they don't trust the government, they don't even trust the media sometimes. And once that trust is gone, it becomes hard to govern effectively. People start believing rumors over official statements. That's why transparency matters. If protesters were attacked, let there be an open investigation. If Soludo made a mistake, let him clarify it publicly. If Kanu's case is legitimate, let the court handle it swiftly and fairly. Nigerians deserve clarity, not confusion. And again, please, if you're watching right now, take a second to like this video. It helps more people see it, and subscribe so you can stay updated. We'll keep following the story with verified facts and real commentary. Finally, let's close this segment with what Nigerians can do, because talking without action changes nothing. Stay informed but calm. Don't spread unverified news. That's how panic grows. Demand accountability peacefully. Even when you're angry, don't let it turn violent. Violence gives authorities a reason to clamp down harder. Engage locally, whether through community groups, NGOs, or social media. Raise your voice smartly. Vote wisely. 2027 is around the corner. Don't just rant online. Use your vote. Support responsible journalism. Channels that tell the truth need your engagement. That's how truth survives. So, to sum it all up, Nigeria may not literally be burning with fire, but it's burning with frustration over injustice, insecurity, and silence. Sowore's protest, Kanu's detention, and Soludo's bombshell are all symptoms of a deeper problem. A country struggling to balance freedom and control, unity and division, truth and propaganda. But we can still fix it if leaders listen and citizens stay engaged. That's all for now. I'll keep following developments around Sowore, Kanu, and Soludo, and I'll be back soon with fresh updates. Until then, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share this gist with someone who needs to stay informed. Because the more Nigerians know, the stronger we become.